Welcome back to OSB Sports. I'm Jessica S. On this show, we'll be covering sports betting 101 on how to bet baseball. With the NBA and NHL winding down, baseball is the only major sport left to wager on. I'm excited to introduce my two co-hosts who will break down on how to bet baseball. Tommy D, the co-owner of OSB Sports. You can find Tommy on Twitter at OSB SportsBet. And Scott Matthews, who's the owner of SM Picks. You can find Scott on Instagram at SM Sports Picks. So guys, how's everything going?
Going great, Jessica. How
Very
about
good,
yourself?
Jessica.
Great. So Tommy, let's start with you. With new bettors coming into the sports betting market, mainly to do the legalization of sports betting throughout the U.S., many bettors are a bit confused on how to bet on baseball.
Well, baseball, if I could just take a second and go back, I've been in this longer. You've been a thought, actually. We started in this business in the mid-'80s. And back then, when basketball ended, baseball was really not a sport that people really bet on. A matter of fact, back in the day, there was really only local bookies that you can bet. There was no regulated books. There was even no offshore market. A lot of bookmakers closed down for the summer. I know that sounds crazy, but it was very tough to find someone that actually would take baseball bets. A lot of people back then, I guess, was tired after a whole football NBA season, so they took a break for the summer and waited for August. But the main thing with baseball, there's no point spread. And I think a lot of people can't wrap their head around that. When you bet a baseball game, what you're betting is the team to win by 1 run, and it's bet on the money line. So let's try to break this down. When you look at the odds, DraftKings, FanDuel, Caesars, whatever, you're going to see a baseball line. You're going to see minus, and you're going to see plus. I'm going to give you an example. Tampa Bay Rays, one of the best teams in baseball right now. They're going to be playing teams. They're generally going to be the favorite because they're just the better team. So you might have Tampa. I'm going to give an example. They're playing the Minnesota Twins. Tampa could be stated as a minus 140 favorite. Now, what does that mean? That means that if you're going to bet $100 on Tampa, you're risking $140 to win your $100. All right, so all Tampa has to do is win the game. All right, but for you to bet 100, the sports books are saying, well, you got to risk 140. All right, conversely, if you think the Twins could win the game and they're the underdog, the Twins are, let's say, plus 120. So for your $100 wager that you bet on the Twins, and once again, all they have to do is win the game by 1, you're going to get back 120 if they win, and if you lose, you only lose 100. So it's kind of reversed there. It's based on a money line. All they have to do is win the game. Now, with baseball, a lot of people say, well, what happens if there's a delay or the game get rained out? They have to play to the bottom of the 5th inning for it to be an official bet. So by the end of the 5th inning, if they call the game and you're winning 2-1, you win your bet, depending if you bet the favorite or you bet the underdog. All right. Traditionally, baseball right now are bet by sharp bettors. And I know a little about the sportsbook industry. A lot of sportsbooks get beat up during baseball season because sharps come in and they play a lot of underdogs. So bookies are afraid of baseball because if you catch a team that's on a roll and they win 9 games in a row, there's nothing they can really do to hedge themselves like a point spread. So baseball can be a very dangerous sport for bookmakers, especially on sharps. Now, you're going to see money lines sometimes minus 250, minus 300. You don't want to bet those type of favorites because you're risking 300 on a $100 wager. If that favorite happens to lose, you got to come back and win 4 games just to break even. So I would never lay anything over $1.40, in my opinion. The real value in betting baseball is finding underdogs. You find a team that's plus 140, plus 150. You just think they could win that game. You're getting an extra 50 cents on your bet. So, rule of thought, stay away from big favorites in baseball. Try to find value in underdogs, all right? And if you can catch some streaks, you can make a lot of money in baseball, but you got to watch the money lines. You can't be risking 2-1 on your money. If you do that, you're probably not going to do well. So, baseball is a profitable sport. That's how the money line works.
Okay, so Scott, another way you can bet on baseball is the run line. Can you explain how this works?
Well, there's a lot of interesting things nowadays offered to people out there, and with the years I've been in the business, I've seen so many different changes with betting strategies. For me personally, I'm always looking for value. Value is the key to being successful. Money management, value, you name it. But run lines are very unique for certain players. A lot of these younger guys that I'm speaking to nowadays, because I get a lot of players off social media that reach out to me. A lot of them don't even know what's going on, basically. I kind of need to almost become a school teacher more so than a sports expert in this day and age. But I love doing it, so it doesn't matter. But run lines are interesting because what you're doing, basically, is you're taking, like Tommy was mentioning, a team that's minus 250. You don't want to lay $250 to win $100. It's almost crazy because if you do lose that one bet, you got to win 3 to get even. But what a lot of players are doing, especially younger kids that are in the business, 21 and up, they're using run lines in parlays. So they're taking a team like last night, for example, the Dodgers was minus 200 on the road, a 190. A lot of guys were laying 1.5 runs with the Dodgers instead of laying the 190. So what it does, even though it didn't work out, and obviously the Dodgers lost the game, but it brings the Dodgers down to minus maybe 115. If you really look at the value of that matchup and you think the Dodgers are going to win that game by multiple runs, then it's probably a great bet to, instead of laying 200, to lay the 1.5 runs. So it works out really well. In the way I look at games, I'm always looking for value. I'm looking for a team I think is live in a game, whether it's the favorite or the underdog. So here's how it really boils down. On a favorite, you got to lay 1.5 runs. That means they must win by 2 runs or more for you to cash the ticket, which is not easy to do because if you watch a lot of these games, even though they're huge favorites, they may squeak by and score a late run in the game and win 4-3 or 10-9 or whatever the score may be. Sometimes they win 10-0. I mean, you really got to see that game has real value where you could grab a live dog. Yes, now you're taking a dog. You're giving them plus 1.5 runs. If you think that dog got a shot in the game, you want to be jumping on that dog, taking the 1.5 runs, makes this game even stronger. So that's the things I look for as an expert doing it for over 30 plus years. I don't want to give up my age here, but over 30 plus years doing this for a full-time living. So I like run line plays. I also love the money lines. I'm kind of an old school like Tommy. We kind of look for old school things, but there's so many new age plays out there. But definitely run lines are interesting, and a lot of guys do use them.
Okay, so Tommy, the money line and the run line seem like they're pretty straightforward. How else could somebody bet on baseball?
Well, it's a good question, Jessica. There's literally hundreds of ways you could bet today. If you go on DraftKings or FanDuel, you're going to see hundreds of different wagers. But one other thing I just wanted to go back, when you do bet a baseball game, this is real important. There's 2 ways you can go. You could list the pitches, or you could just say bet action. Bet action means anyone could start as the pitchers. The last minute, they bring in some guy from the farm system. That means you have a bet on both pitchers that are starting. But if you list pitchers, both those pitchers must start the game. So that's something you definitely want to look for. If you like a pitcher, you want to bet listed the pitchers. So if that pitcher doesn't start, there's no bet. But going back to another way you can bet, which is interesting, it's first 5 innings. So what are we talking about? There's 9 innings in a game. There's a line on every baseball game, first 5 innings. Now, normally the line is minus a half run. So it'll say 0.5. Once again, there's going to be a money line attached to that. If Tampa Bay is at home and they're playing Oakland, and Oakland's the worst team in baseball right now, you're probably going to think that, all right, Tampa's definitely going to win that game. But the first 5 innings means by the bottom of the fifth, the team you take minus a half must be winning by 1 run. Now, what happens after the rest of the innings does not matter. So if Tampa is up 3-0 in the bottom of the fifth inning, you win your bet the first 5 innings. Now, flip that on the other side. If you think a team could just, by the end of the fifth inning, be winning that game, you would get plus a half, which means they have to win by 1 anyway in the end of the fifth inning. Once again, there's going to be a money line. There's going to be a favorite, like minus 140 on minus a half. You might get plus 120 on plus a half. It's an interesting bet. If a team is really hot, hitting really well, you probably think they're going to come out of the gate and score runs early. If you're betting against a pitcher that you think they're going to hit early in the game, you probably want to lay the half run for the first innings. Now, you could also bet totals on that. We could talk about that on another show. There's also, you could bet the first inning, you could bet the second inning. Today, with the legalization, there's a zillion ways to wager. But to sum it up, first 5 innings, your team that you take by the bottom of the fifth must be winning by at least 1 run.
Okay, so Scott, prop betting is popular in the NFL and NBA. Can you wager on props in baseball as well?
Oh, absolutely. There's wagers out there for all walks of life. I mean, I try to stay away from them, to be honest with you, because I'm smart enough to know that they put these numbers out there to trap you. I mean, why bet into a trap? It might look great on paper. I know a lot of people like to grab, like, oh, these parlays. Well, I'm going to get 6-1 if I win a 3-teamer. But guys, how often are you winning that 3-teamer? You win one, you may lose the next 20. Are you making money? Probably not. At the end of the day, you got to look for what makes sense. And the way I've been successful doing this is I play one solid play that I feel makes sense. I look for everything on the board. I look for the best value that I feel based on all the due diligence we put into it on a daily basis. And I look for that play that stands out. I'd rather be cashing tickets one by one than looking for these big-time plays like these props or live betting. I mean, there's some cool props. I've been doing well with them, actually, in the NBA Finals. I did well with them. I had a couple of nice plays in the first game. I had Bam Adebayo over 16 points scoring. He went over. I had Duncan Robinson on the 8.5 points as a prop play. He scored 2 points. So, there's some value, but, you're not getting big odds there. You're getting like minus 110 or plus 105. So, it's a cool thing. A lot of the younger players like it. They like to chase these games throughout and play these different props. But there's so many different props out there, guys. You got to be really careful. I mean, they kind of made it like a Baskin-Robbins ice cream. You go in there, you got 33 different flavors to choose from. It's not like you got one flavor. In the old days, you could bet a game to win. You could bet an over or under. Now you got so many different variations of plays. You really better know what you're doing and be smart about it, or you're going to get knocked out real quick, your bankroll.
If I could just expand, I mean, props really came from the fantasy sports. Now a lot of younger players that started betting fantasy, now they like the props because it's an individual bet. What's popular in baseball is a certain pitcher. Is he going to strike out more than 6 people? There's a line on that. Or is Aaron Judge going to get more than 1.5 bases, which means he has to get 2 hits in the game. Once again, there's a money line attached to those props. From a sports book perspective, sharps love props as well.
Well, Tommy, you and I know from being in the business so long that they don't make it easy. They're not putting these numbers out there for people to win. They're putting them out there for people,
There's no gifts, but prop betting from a sharp perspective, and I do speak to a lot of professional sports bettors, they do extremely well with prop betting because you could handicap an individual person easier than technically 9 people on a field. But once again, you can lose a lot of money betting props. You got to watch out for the money line that's attached to it. But it is an interesting way to bet baseball.
It's more homework for them.
Yeah, definitely.
But it's very popular with the young people, more so.
It came from fantasy
A lot
sports.
of younger
Yeah,
kids like it.
exactly, and it's growing. There's a lot of props every day on the board for everything.
I just like to win. I'm all about finding that one strong game and just trying to build bankroll. That's how I run it. I mean, a lot of guys look at me and they say, one game, you're boring. I'm boring, but I'm winning. I'm consistent. I'm cashing tickets. At the end of the day, you guys are complaining. You're coming to me. I must be doing something right if you're looking for me. So you must not be doing the right thing on your own. So, sometimes you got to change it up, guys. You can't just follow the same system. It's like, you go out and get a bad meal, you go back to the same restaurant the next night. You just chase it. I don't think you should be chasing. I think you should try different angles and look for what works best and follow a good system.
Exactly.
It's a business.
All right, so from what it sounds like, baseball can be very profitable. Thank you so much, Tommy and Scott, for your valuable insight and sharing how we can bet on baseball. Where can we find you at, Tommy?
Well, I have a couple of different social media pages. My Twitter is at OSB Sportsbet. We have free picks up there daily. We have articles, breakdown on why to bet a certain game. My Instagram, which is becoming very popular, is at OSB_sports. And you could also catch Jessica daily on that Instagram. And every day we're putting up free picks.
All right, and
Can't
Scott.
beat that, right?
Well,
All right, and Scott, where can they find you at?
I am out there every day. I am got daily free pick videos out there on TikTok. I got Instagram, and you can find me on Instagram at SM Sports Picks, PICKS, at SM Sports Picks, and on Twitter. Believe it or not, my son about a year and a half ago said, "Dad, you got to go on Twitter, get your face out there." So we did, and we're picking up a lot of steam on Twitter. And my handle is SM Picks, SMPICKS. Check it out, guys. We're doing a pretty good job. We're consistent. We try to do the right thing for people. Listen, we can't be right every day. If we were, you'd be standing behind me at the line at the casino. But we try to be consistent and just try to keep guys in front of the best games we can. Check it out.